welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with probably the most professional StarCraft 2 player ever. In the bottom right, it's the finisher, Serral. Up against one of the only non-Clem players to make him look somewhat human in the past, the People's Terran. It's Cure. A best-of-3 TVZ, and Cure has been on a team with Clem for several years now. He's clearly taken some notes. Cure considers Clem to be by far the best player in the world, as of a recent interview, and I'm not surprised to see a little bit of cheekiness to start things off. A half-and-half proxy racks, trying to fool Serral into thinking he's just going for a one racks expand. But you know what Serral says? Fool me once, and I won't get fooled again. So if you want to see Cure pull one over on Serral, or have Serral reassert his dominance over gestures to everyone, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? 1,245 likes on this video, on this cast, and you can save it. And I'll cast another series. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And I'm sure these two about to make it just a little bit better. This is, you know, these two are the standard. Clem is a wild card, kind of aggressive. He's definitely rounded out his play lately, but he still maintains that hyper-aggressive style. We've seen it recently against Raynor as well. Cure, on the other hand, has always been the kind of slower, methodical, maxed-out player. In fact, when he was the most successful in GSL, pretty much his go-to timing was sit there for about 9 minutes, max out with siege tanks and marines, and then slowly tank push your way across the map. And do it so efficiently, with so much to back it up, it just felt unbreakable. Not passive, but definitely not an outright aggressive player. I think he's also gotten a little bit more aggressive over time, rounded that out a bit, but you still see it here. Bringing the barracks back. How much did he get? He got a drone, which is something. He got 5 Zerglings. But Serral doesn't have a third hatchery, just now laying it down, which is remarkably late overall. We'll see if he wants to do any sort of aggression. The hatchery timings, and now when we have Serral, who looks like a mortician's accountant sometimes when he's playing, but and his play style is just as exciting. In his own words, what he does is pretty standard business, and he is the CEO of said business, but he doesn't act like it. But you gotta look at the details. So, larva management. That is Serral's specialty. He makes sure every larva, every inject, every bit of queen energy is efficiently done. Did you know creep tumors spread up to twice as fast if they're within a couple range of another creep tumor? 3 creep tumors doesn't make it even faster. But Serral, not going to spend a bunch of extra energy on those creep tumors for them to spread. Maybe you could get a little bit of extra HP there, but creep tumors are not known for being particularly hardy creatures. Serral doesn't actually build that many compared to many players who just slap down a few dozen. Alright. So that way he has a little bit more energy for inject, a little bit more energy overall. Like, he has the energy right now to add more creep tumors, but why would you do that when you could have transfuse to defend? Saves more time and energy in the past. There you go. Feeling a little safer. Sees the Hellions on the other side of the map with the Overlord. And now we're safe to add the creep tumors. Also got the roaches. A lot less larva intensive than Zerglings and can still zone out. That's a lot of Hellions. That's a surprising amount. Queens will retreat for now, but the roaches show up. And things are patched together. There's an armory on the way. The Liberator finds a nice spot. There's not any Spore Crawlers. He decides to build one. Probably a smart move, otherwise he would have lost it, most certainly. Does he have a Spore in the main? He does. The only one so far. Plenty of roaches and lings. 10 more drones on the way for Serral. And so far, well, Cure's building up behind. He's doing a lot with relatively little. Oh, sieging up the Liberator mostly so if he uses the Selective Army hotkey, or if he even got poked or prodded, it wouldn't get caught out there. No reason to lose it. Or maybe there's something in there, in that mountain we don't know about. Either way. Serral's up to 60 drones, but Cure starts his +1. Looks like he's going with the most standard of tank pushes. Double medevac drop. 3 barracks on the way, but this is all designed as cover for his third base. I don't think Cure has any intentions of winning the game outright with 2 medevacs at over 7 minutes. He's not going to be doing deadly damage with the Hellions at the front, but at the same time, he's building up his infrastructure. This is his most vulnerable time. He doesn't really have very many siege tanks. He's got a lot of SCVs, but not too much at home to protect them. So he needs to keep Serral busy on his side of the map, which Serral is more than happy to just build up himself, while he builds up at home. And once Cure gets his 5 barracks online, he gets more than a few siege tanks. Well, the Liberator actually found another opportunity. The Hellions are coming in. They get a queen. Meanwhile, boxing out on all sides. Is +1 done? No. Without that +1 attack upgrade on the Marines, they're not very effective against the Roaches or the Queens. +1 attack is a huge deal for the Marines, which fire incredibly quickly, especially when they do their Terran-approved drugs there. I like the, as for Stimpak, as an aficionado, legalized Stimpak. I like the idea it helps them manage recoil better, all right? Not that we're focused entirely on realism here in StarCraft, but it always did feel a little silly that somehow the Stimpak increases your attack speed. But in making sure that every shot lands, so that way when you either, if you're Clem, click on all the banelings, or if you're everyone else, misclick on all the banelings, you hit your target every time. 2 infestors on the way. Serral going with the minimalist sort of strategy here. And by that I mean not adding banelings, not too many zerglings. He's got 74 drones, adding a couple more. But really not going for that massive economy, but instead making sure he has enough army supply. So he's not going super wide with his build. He's not trying to get every bit of tech. Just enough that it complements each other as he works up towards Hive. But I think Cure has an opportunity. He's building up more quickly. If he's able to get across the map before Hive Tech kicks in, he's got a real opportunity. That is assuming he doesn't lose all this to the infestors. All right. Yes, that's a big assumption with Serral on the field. No burrow yet, by the way. Important to note. Serral threatening with this Roach Ravager. Feigning some strength, but if he attacks in, Cure will be able to smash it. There's no way he's breaking through these siege tanks with what he has right now. The Vipers are almost required at this stage. Or Lurkers. Ideally both. So, as is customary with these two, we're kind of flirting, going back and forth, but the real action is going to happen once we get closer to maxing out. Both players, oh, in the pipe 5x5, right, boys? Who is that guy? That's not... You coming? Wait a second. That changeling is actually a huge deal for Serral. That changeling lets him know the tanks are unsieged. And that, of course, indicates the timing has begun. And here comes Cure with his classical Cure timing. Plenty of tanks, but Serral has to have known this was coming. He's got the double-double on the sides here. 4 medevacs have dropped set up, but Serral does not have any Vipers out. He doesn't have the Hive Tech kicking in. A scan, a double scan to the main just to make sure. A bit sloppy there, but Seismic Spines is about to complete, but siege tanks outrange Lurkers no matter what range they have. Still hanging out. Another... Yeah, this is classic Cure. Roaches and Ravagers trying to break forward, but that's... The siege tanks are well spread. The corrosive bows are never going to hit more than one thing. The drop's set up. There are some Roaches ready to deal with it, but Cure's just hanging out. He's laying the pressure on just by existing here. You ever feel like that? Moving on. The drops are getting shut down, but honestly, without Vipers, even with the Lurkers, well, if the Marines run into the Lurkers, they're going to get eviscerated. But the Lurkers will eventually fall to the tanks. The tank count is down to 3 on the high ground here, which is getting a bit thin. So Serral is holding the line. He's just as patient with the defense. Okay, get off my creep! The hubris to keep dropping this location with the queens already ready. I like how Serral's just chilling. Like, he's still mining to an extent from this base. Not the mineral patches at the edge. He's got the middle base. He's shutting down the medevacs. He's just calmly expanding away from this bush, and I'm sure he'll crush it eventually, but the fact he doesn't have any Vipers is the only thing kind of giving me some pause here. Well, ghosts are finally in production for Cure. He's not big on the ghosts. They take a lot of micro. Siege tank pushes are a bit more strategical. But the ghosts are out, and now it's Serral's turn to do a siege push from pretty much the same location that Cure's doing on the other side. The siege tanks will defend for now. There are 5 dropper lords on the way. Is Serral going to drop on the siege tanks, or is he just going across the map? Repositioning slightly. The Overseer provides vision here for Serral. Gonna send out some more corrosive biles, and there's only 1 tank left. Lurker drops are very likely. Yep, he's gonna send everything. Is there anything? There's Vikings ready. Cure's ready for it, but he's not gonna be able to get all 5 Ovies. Which ones will he get? And does he react in time? Operation Overlord has begun, but the Vikings may cause Serral to turn around. It's already a bit late for that, actually. Did Cure even notice? I think he noticed now. Yeah, he pulls back. Actually, I'm not even sure he was paying attention to that. I wasn't looking at the minimap camera. But Cure, he's got all his bases. He's working on +3 infantry weapons. A relatively passive game thus far. And by passive, I mean just neither player willing to commit. That's why Serral has so much money in the bank. Cure doesn't, but it's because he's invested in so many extra command centers, which are an investment in the late game future. You add more command centers, that means you can replace your hardworking SCVs with automation, which is certainly the future. Thank you for coming to my TEDx talk. Please subscribe. The Lurker Concave from Serral. Notably, no Ultralisk Cavern at all. Not bothering with it this game. Also, very notably, no Vipers, but a whole lot of Lurkers. The Snipes line up. Gonna try to hit what they can, but the Planetary Fortress certainly goes down. The Lurker shredding it here. Orbital's forced to lift. So rotates around. There's no counter damage happening at the moment. A attack to nydus out of Serral. Gonna be able to reinforce. He's exploiting Cure's biggest weakness, which is that pinpoint micro in as many locations as possible. Right now, Cure can focus on this, but Serral's opening up more opportunities. Is there an Overseer? No. He can't deal with the Cloak Ghosts. The Lurkers scamper into the nydus. Surprisingly, the Infestor doesn't find it there. Eventually, the Infestor goes down. 1 Viper in production. Serral's maxed out with money in the bank. Just the scream, like, Cure, his camera went back to his base. He's now looking to set everything up in there, just making sure. But oh my god, that's a lot of Lurkers. A forward planetary. Going to help draw some of the fire from the Zerg, but it will go down itself. Losing more SCVs. Infantry armor level 3 about to complete, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to turn the tides. And the Lurkers on the right flank as well. Serral starting to close in. More Zerglings on the way. He got Bane speed. Building armor about to complete. Actually quite a help against the Lurkers and especially the Zerglings. Nuclear missile in production. That is one Hail Mary style to get out of this. Helps deal with some of those entrenched positions. We'll see if Serral actually takes a hit from it, or if Cure's ever able to get a good one off. An Infestor, he doesn't have Burrow, which feels like an oversight. Serral has enough money to research Burrow 30 times over. That is the one thing clearly missing, I think, from this there. Serral agrees as he tries to get away, I assume with the Infestors. The Serral Fester is iconic at this point, and it's very weird to see an Infestor just hanging out above ground. Ghosts and Hellbats dragged in to the Zerg. Caduceus reactor now on the way after advanced ballistics, but Serral already got his spire. So he's anticipated this switch to the later game air. Just the methodical process. I'm gonna go to the Serral cam for a moment, see how he sets up these attacks. Honestly, unlike some players, Serral is not particularly hard to follow, I find, when watching in first person compared to like a Rainer or a Clem. Because he has such a clear process for... He's not even being sarcastic when he says what he does is pretty standard business. He's drawing attention over to the right flank here, working the push through. He's opening up more opportunities to attack through the center. He's got a bunch of Banelings, and Banelings do not age well, or ideally at all. The ideal Baneling morphs, and then within as few seconds as possible, attacks. As it doesn't gain any value over time, and you want to be able to replace it. But he's looking for an opportunity to get something done. A nuclear missile is launched. Does Serral see it? I'm sure he heard it. Parasitic bomb. Serral? 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 The nuke lands! And down go 10 drones. Which, not a devastating blow, but actually Serral's army moves back. So, the emotional damage almost as much as the damage from the nuke itself. Serral now has to be worried. The Ghost survived. It got 20 kills in total. I think there were some Zerglings, and it's also counting some of the larvae there. Serral has expanded to the top right, but he actually kind of left the map for a little bit once that nuke landed, and he realized he was missing something quite dramatic. But he's gonna try to drag his way into the defenses here. Pulls out the Liberators and the Siege tanks, picks them apart. Cure, another Nydus comes out. The Lurkers will slice it up. Another nuke is launched in the bottom left corner. Serral, he realized you could maybe go into the Nydus as well. Oh, the nuke will land, gets a drone or two, but Serral manages to defend his top right corner base, which really shouldn't be his, and Cure knows that. Oh my god, an entire fleet of Liberators coming up. He's got 12 Liberators. Covering pretty much everything. 2 nukes on the way. Cure's like, I finally found something that kind of worked. We're gonna go for it. The Liberators and Ghosts. Serral tried to be as careful as possible. If you remember that game against Clem in DreamHack Atlanta, where Clem managed to come back from down 100 supply, you can realize why he wants to take this methodically here. And, well, there's not that many bases on the map. So if Serral can deny any more bases out of Cure, he will run out of money. Serral's got 9k, 6k in the bank. He's not... Honestly, this is such a contrast to, like, Clem versus Rainer. Neither player has lost even much more than... it's only 10,000 minerals. 13,000 for Cure to 12,000 for Serral. How rare is that? A Zerg losing less minerals. This might be the first time in recent history I've seen that in a game like this. And we'll see if it's maintained as the Liberators are moving up. That is, oh my god, an overlapping, just like a heliograph of liberation zones. I don't even think that's a real word, but like the little spirals that... Anyways, it sounds like a fractal. Something sciencey and geometrical. I don't know, either way. A little less geometrical, though, when the triple corrosive biles knock down a couple more Liberators. Holy shit. Well, it seems the Zerg must have oil, because it must be liberated. Jesus. More Corruptors. 18 Liberators. There are 17 Corruptors, but with the Ghosts here, Lurkers are able to slip by. Looks like Cure really wants to press the issue. Actually adding an Ultralisk Cavern at this stage? Now that is quite a choice. Cure is bleeding out. He doesn't really have the money. A nydus, one of the only things that can't be hit by the Liberators, somewhat amusingly. More niduses. How many have gone down? This is 10 or 11 of them in total. There's still a couple nukes in the tank here. Serral is now... It's starting to look more and more like a campaign mission. If these ultras come out and start popping out of the nydus, well, we're essentially in the last mission of the Wings of Liberty campaign, and Serral is the Zerg. Here, doing a whole lot of not losing here, but winning. He's still struggling to max out. The Queen's running by Zerglings, gunned down over to the right flank. The Corruptors are picking off almost everything that comes near them. As long as the Ghosts are on the other side of the map, the Corruptors have nearly free reign. They can mostly ignore the Marines. Another round of Banelings is coming in, preventing the Ghosts from lining up the snipes. Changelings, making things difficult. More Ghosts may get taken out. No cloak there. Planetary will force him back as all the Liberators are headed over. Cure feels like he's in a very long death animation right now. And as long as Serral's Ethernet cable doesn't get unplugged, he may very well get ground down and actually die, but... Oh, the escape nydus! Rarely do we see it used so effectively. He pops out one drone. Okay, now Serral's definitely the AI. The AI which, especially on higher difficulties, just decides, oh, there's a base, I'll expand there. Doesn't care at all whether or not there are units ready to kill it. Well, here come the Corruptors. Gonna try to fight the Liberators. Heads up. The Liberators have 2-1 against the Corruptors 2-1, which the Liberators could actually fight in the air, especially with Ghost support. But the finishing move from the finisher. 5 Ultralisks are in production. He's looking to lay the hammer down. Cure refuses to die. Why won't you die? Well, the answer is because Ghosts and Liberators are almost impossible to kill in a defensive position. But once they reach their necks out just a little bit, you might be able to finish him off. He's sniping Banelings. Cure's a bit desperate, but he has another escape nydus. Oh my god. I love it. These are the little details. Serral has so much money in the bank. Parasitic Bomb. He's just nickel and diming Cure out of this game. This is more of a hostile corporate takeover than it is a StarCraft battle of attrition. As Serral is slowly trading away his economy in order to starve Cure's significantly lower economy. The amount of units actually lost is remarkably low for 25 minutes of Terran versus Zerg. But Serral comes in. He's got plenty of Banelings. The Ultras as well drawing fire. The Banelings rolling through. The Liberators will get cleaned up. And it looks like the finisher has done the... Oh my god. Ruining my entire outro bit there, too. Oh, I set that up so well. And then Cure, those Ghosts, you can't kill what is already dead. The Ghosts do not die. So, he still has 2 nukes, by the way. A nuke doesn't even kill an Ultralisk. Gets close. I don't know if the nuke is aimed directly at the Ultra's face, it may kill it. It's close. But either way, Serral is maxed out with plenty of money in the bank. And right now, Cure needs a small loan of 1 million minerals, and even then I'm not confident he could beat Serral with only 200 supply. The sound of a dozen ghosts dying brings music to my ears. Cure. Serral rebuilds with Ultras and Zerglings. The Corruptors to wipe out everything in the sky. The Vipers waiting for their moment. Honestly, I don't even know what you use right now. Parasitic Bomb. You don't want to risk the Vipers. Serral has lost less minerals and gas as he wins a war of attrition with Terran. So even though this game isn't particularly close, this is something that if we had textbooks or just, you know, books, should be in them. on how to play late game Terran versus Zerg. And here's another point, is he's done it without the infestors. I think part of it is just Cure's kind of, the brittle nature of his late game play. But it's such a contrast between Clem and, well, everyone else at this point. Cure with the desperation drop. The Corruptors in the main, just spraying everything. I think we'll see a Parasitic Bomb. A couple Hydras here. He's just going to chase it down. Cure's actually mining from the top right. 15 drones. Was that just the drop over here, or... I don't see anything else on the map, so... The Liberator's a bit late. Uses a couple Banes to expedite the process here. Burrow Banes? Maybe? Well... Couple Infestors. Just constant vision. Serral's bank has dwindled a bit. He's down to 4K, 3K. The income is starting to even out. The fact that Cure's mining at all. His army supply is still decent. I want to point out something. Cure has not made a singular Widow Mine in this game. For better or worse. As Widow Mines, especially when Cure is involved. Oh. Yeah, you don't really want to be throwing these away. A nuke! Pretty obvious location, but if it lands, will that change anything? We're gonna find out. The Ultraslings and Banes. Serral did move away with his drones on the other side. The nuke will land. The Ultras getting up a ramp. They're vertically challenged. Cure doing a whole lot. Cure's like a ladder Terran. That's why he's the people's Terran. Everyone who isn't Clem probably lost about 10 minutes ago in this game against Serral. But he's got Ghosts, he's got Liberators, he's got Orbital Command, so we're not done yet. Snipes off a couple. And a forward nuke. But that Ghost is gonna get mauled to death. There's an Infestor under there somewhere. Does it matter? There's another Infestor off to the side, but Serral might be able to just clear the field here. If not, another Infestor pops out for the Ghost. Melts them. The Infestor actually got back underground. Cure, okay. Alright. GG. Well, a arduous yet decisive process. Serral. Actually, Cure will never financially recover from this. Serral managed to be more cost-effective in both minerals and gas against Mass Liberator Ghost, which should be like an achievement in and of itself. Even Serral struggles with that on a regular basis, but Cure just unable to really get anything going. Struggling to ever assert himself out on the map. He got a nuke. That was pretty cool. And then everything else just got deflected and shut down as Serral eventually signed in triplicate the hostile takeover of his company. You saw him kind of rotated the Ultras to the composition, adding in Infestors when needed. Lightly seasoned with Infestors and Vipers. The key is not having too many Infestors and Vipers, because if you have too many spellcasters, they just become a liability against the Ghost. So having 2 or 3 Infestors and Vipers in the fight in order to get a Parasitic Bomb, or some Abducts, or maybe a Fungal, that's enough to make the difference without investing too heavily in something that... Are 10 Infestors going to be better than 2? Unlikely. Fungal doesn't stack, and managing all those is unlikely to happen without losing them, or at least getting them EMP'd. So again, Serral takes game 1 in typical Serral fashion. Cure. That's why he's the people's Terran. He reminds me so much of my own play against Zerg. It's like, I have these units that, technically, if I micro them perfectly, will win in the late game. You can't stop me. But practically, the combination of both APM and opportunity, as well as a bit of luck you need, is almost impossible for, once again, those non-Clem players out there. I feel like maybe a missed opportunity on the tank push, where he just kind of stalled out when he was almost in range of the 4th base. That's usually the defining characteristic, the production that the game swings on. Having that 4th base for the extra larva, going in towards hive tech, is usually the defining characteristic. That's where Terrans will focus on in order to limit the Zerg and maybe do a follow-up attack that does deadly damage. But you're unable to get the 4th and unable to really slow Serral down, and it showed. You're also very good at not dying, though, so, that's good. Jimmy, how many ads can we run on a 30-minute game? Okay, one less than Loco? That works for me. Like and subscribe. Another double Rax Reaper, but this time in the base. And now some Cyclones behind it. It feels like Cyclones, while still a strong option. Did he fake something? I think he was researching. He was faking an earlier stim? Possibly? Let's see, did Serral scout? Well, he keeps seeing it with the Overlord if he's looking. Like, yeah, Serral's looking right at it. Let's go to the Serral cam here. Well, that gives it away if it didn't before. He lifted the barracks on the tech lab. Is Kier going mech? It's a bit odd. He's taking his sweet time getting to something like stim. He's delayed it several times over. There's the... I think this time he'll keep it. There's no reason to be canceling it now. He has the money. 3rd command center is done. Serral just finished his 3rd hatchery. It looks like it's going to be the roaches yet again. Starport on the way. Yeah, 5 roaches. The sloaches to just box things out. Lair. On the quicker side of things. Not particularly quick. I think partially for detection. Partially for roach speed. Also, well, roach speed is a big one in this case. Zergling's looking for a wraparound. Roaches boxing out. Cyclones lock on, but can't take too many hits. Bit of a glass cannon. Oh. Third command center gonna land. You're actually gonna fight this. The Zergling's a little late to the party. And will eventually close the distance, but Kier doing a good job of using the speed zones and actually takes quite a good fight against Serral. But look at the worker count. Serral at 6 minutes is going on 70 drones, 69 to be exact, which is nice enough to really springboard that mid-game economy and potentially max out on roaches inordinately quick. A couple Evas, more gases. Serral has his full worker count. Kier still working on it. He has 3 more barracks on the way. That'll complete the 5 you usually have as your full 3 base saturation. And the double drop into the main. Not that many units here, so pre-pulls away with the drones. Not quite far enough. Loses 1. But without combat shield, those Marines gonna have a tough time against even the unupgraded roaches. He's still fighting. Well, this is starting to trickle a bit. And he finds the drones awkwardly here. The Queens came back to defend. Kier getting more and more damage done. 9 drones dead. So it looks like Serral unable to really capitalize on that worker count. And in fact is going to lose it before it really kicks in. Serral down to 55 drones. 55, he killed 13. And he didn't really lose anything that he needed for the later game. The roaches, I mean the Cyclones and the Hellions, those had an expiration date. And getting any damage with them is a big win here. And now he supply blocks Serral, who's obviously flustered from that attack. So Cure, off to a good start here in game 2. Let's see if he can follow it up a little better than the last game. Siege tanks already in position. Serral has to rebuild that drone count. And, well, that damage happened at a time when Serral already had the drone count to bounce back quickly. It still is a significant slowdown on any sort of aggression. Building 15 more drones means not more roaches. He's getting a couple infestors, but there's not nearly enough roaches to be attacking and defending simultaneously, which is pretty necessary against Cure's multi-pronged drops now. Plus 1 infantry weapon's done. Another double drop up to the north side. I believe it was spotted by an overlord, but with no anti-air, still going to be difficult to deal with. The infestors are out. Throws out a fungal. Gonna chain it together. Actually getting a lot of the Marines with it there, as they can't load in. Gets 8 drones. Serral down to 58. He's building 14 more. Again, Cure has traded a few Marines for a whole lot of time here. So we'll see if he can translate that. As +2 attack has begun, but Serral's already starting 2-2. He has the rich Vespine base in the center. So if he really needs the gas, he certainly will get it. The medevac's looking for an opportunity. Serral a bit late on the response as roaches cannot fly, much to their dismay. Target's down a couple more drones. The queen count down to 4. Serral not with that massive queen count that some players will enjoy. He did also, well, he's only lost 1, so he only built 5 queens in total. An interesting note there. Maybe that's how he gets so many drones so quickly. Whole lot of Ravagers as Cure going to be making a great effort with this tank push right through the center, and Serral's base is not too far away. The Roach Ravager just gonna fight forward here. Eats a couple corrosive biles, he loses a medevac, but 5 siege tanks. Couple Zerglings over to the right flank. Cure is taking a 4th base while pressing into Serral's 4th himself. Loses another tank here. Those infestors, an existential threat to the groups of Marines. More tanks on the way. Moving suspiciously close to the creep. Serral looking to wrap around. +1 vehicle weapons about to complete. The Roaches looking to cut off reinforcements. Here, going to pull back with some of his units. Gotta be careful not to move too many. Oh, those Marines are clumped up here. What does Serral see? He doesn't see exactly the makeup of everything. The creep tumors aren't close enough. But Serral just trying to drag him back. There is a planetary at the 4th base here. Scanning forward. Denying that creep. Serral actually a bit desperate to bring Cure back. He really needs to slow down the push. He doesn't have... Well, he does have a hive, but he doesn't have any Vipers. And he doesn't have any other hive tech ready. He's about to finish 2-2, which might be a flashpoint here for attack. That Carapace upgrade is especially helpful against the tanks. The Roach is still cutting things off. Cure may just have to bring things back. If he brings back all the bio, that leaves the tanks exposed in the center of the map. Vikings on the ground here. And yes, the tanks indeed are exposed. He's going to throw out the corrosive biles, but Serral, the obvious conclusion, if the Marines aren't there, he can clean it up. Even some drones getting in on the action, which a bit surprising there. The Vikings being added in, both to deny Overlord drops, but also good against the Vipers. He can still build them without building any additional tech once he gets enough medevacs. You just start building... I love the 4, maybe 6 Vikings after 10 or so medevacs. He has 6 of them. I think he lost a couple, but... in order to deny Vipers and just generally have some anti-air. If you take out the Overseers, it helps as well. Really no reason not to. At some point, you have a liability of medevacs. Hydra is done on the way, but you're definitely keeping more pressure on Serral this time around, but he hasn't been able to turn it really into a kill on any basis. He really wanted to move in and take out that 4th base, which he could use as a springboard to more damage later on, but right now, he's getting ghosts. Even if he gets an abduct, there's nothing to abduct it into, so kind of defeats the purpose there. No concussive shell. Wonder if Cure... Yeah, Cure noticed immediately. That queen moving remarkably fast. They're not supposed to do that. Still only 4 queens, by the way. Serral really stretching him thin here. Just not the greatest unit against tank pushes, so not too focused on it. Those Vipers lines up a shot, doesn't quite land the snipe. Meanwhile, the Roach Ravager, he actually brings some infestors with it. Cure going to try the tank push again. Corrosive Bile doesn't quite hit the command center. Well, there's no anti-air. He uses a parasitic bomb. The Vikings, well, he dodges it, but only the queens for anti-air. Throws out another parabomb, which means no other energy for Blinding Cloud for anything else right now. He has to regen it. Now the tanks are within range. Cutting off some reinforcements is Serral. The Infestor is coming up the ramp, but there are ghosts here. Throws an EMP. The tanks are in a great spot to continue getting damage done. Serral about to finish +3 Carapace, +2 armor for Cure. Loses a bunch to Banelings. The ghosts have to retreat. Banelings still rolling in, but the siege tanks do their job. Still the Roach Ravager cutting off reinforcements. May finally get this base here. Gotta be careful not to get too far out of position. Hasn't killed the base yet. The Banelings are rolling in. The Medivacs stretched thin. He has more Medivacs than really units to heal now. And Serral will save the base. He's got some infestors underneath as well. Throws out a fungal. And he's dismantling the tanks. A haphazard fight throughout the map. Still some ghosts. Loses a Medivac. Lines up a snipe on the Viper, though, with the Ghost Cloak. No detection. Poor Serral there. Still some infestors underneath, but he can't quite kill. 50 HP left. He's building... Serral's like, I might need a transfuse. I'll build a 4th queen. I think he lost a queen in there. He's down to 3. And Serral doesn't have that much money in the bank. Cure has been relatively untouched economically. Despite how much damage Serral's been able to do, he hasn't really done much against the SCV count, and he hasn't destroyed any bases. This is the closest he's gotten here. As he'll deny the base in the center. Another triple drop is headed out, but I think this is more of a liability. Get over here! Lines it up, knocks it down. With Vipers on the field, sending out drops like this might be dividing and conquering your own units. As Serral doesn't really have... Serral's most vulnerable to a well-executed direct attack, as we've seen so far. His units are better in small groups than Cure with his siege tanks and his ghosts. So Cure, in sending out drops like this, I think is kind of playing into Serral's unit composition, as opposed to trying to put... Well, he's trying to rebuild the tank count behind. He's trying to buy time and get these bases. But right now, he's buying it with the blood of 2 Medivacs worth of bio. As Serral drags in 20 supply and the Hydras knock it down for him. This game, though, well, Serral's still been more cost-effective. I think those last 2 Medivacs tilted it pretty dramatically here. The army supply has been slightly in Serral's favor throughout most of the game. The income now dramatically in Serral's favor as he took out SCVs and forced that base to lift. But again, despite Cure having a lot of success in the middle of the map, it wasn't enough to dislodge Serral. And now, he's starting to bank money. He's starting to get that late game army composition. And deja vu, we've just been in this place before. Serral with the late game army and spellcasters with the upgrades, and Cure on the back foot. The difference here, no lurkers, no ultras. But this is a much more open map where Hydras, Lings, and Banes can exploit that mobility more strongly. This Infestor. Oh, he saw it. I think it ran into turret range for a split second, which is a huge difference. Parasitic Bomb needs to quarantine the Medivacs. Will do so, but loses the units underneath simultaneously. And the Hydras, no match on their own. Not a particularly great fight for Serral, and he won't be able to do much against this base. Cure's got to be real careful. He's in a tenuous position, but he's retaking ground. The Banelings are about to complete. Doesn't want to overstay his welcome here. Right on the edge of the creep. Serral. 86 drones. Liberator production has begun. 5 overlords in production as well. Thinking about a drop. No nydus this game. The infestor. But the tanks, EMP a little off the mark. No, banelings rolling in, but the tanks knocking them out before they get close. Cure definitely working the tank push better this game. Making more progress, but Serral still has money in the bank. Cure is not able to keep him contained enough. Serral wants to send maybe a Zergling drop in. This is not a planetary. And finally a hatchery dies. The first of the game. And how much effort was it? He mined, I think he mined out of the gas. So really this base is mostly obsolete. The Zerglings, they have adrenal glands. I'm working on +3 melee. So fully upgraded Zerglings on the agenda. Oh, come on. You gotta know that Infestor's there. Serral, that Infestor's in the perfect spot. The Serral Fester this time around may very well turn everything instantaneously. He scans on top of himself because he knows too well. Yeah, he kills it. All right, never mind. +3 melee is done. Cure is maxed out with a larger army because Serral has so many more workers. The bio army backing off as the banelings roll in. A few Zerglings slip in to the third, to the center base, and also over to the right flank. SCVs dying left, right, and center. Cutting off some reinforcements as well. Cure scrambling back to defend. Almost loses an orbital. Cure cleans up the Zerglings, but he's actually supply blocked. The tanks at the center of the map being dismantled by the Vipers. Cure scrambles to retain this position. That Infestor slightly out of turret range. He's waiting. Snipes one. Zerglings again sent in. The Dropper Lord's just waiting for their opportunity. I think Serral realizes there's no real point in sending it to the main when you could work on the economy. The production is good, but actually killing the SCVs and bases is better. Invalidates the production itself. But Cure has managed to make his way with the tanks. So many. He's only got 6 tanks. He's just making great use of them. Serral's lost slightly more minerals now. We'll see if that continues. Dropper Lords. He could fake a drop as well, which would likely be successful and drag Cure out of position. But Cure just killed 2 more hatcheries here. With the Zerglings working their way in. How many orbitals? Only 4. I say only because that means that there isn't the infinite scans that we sometimes see at this level. With 5... Ooh, Brood Lords on the way. Hydras and Banelings. Upgrades nearly maxed out. Well, Serral, his ground army is maxed out. That Infestor right underneath. Now, very technically, you can spot it moving underground. There's a slight animation if it's moving, but it's very hard to spot. It depends on the tile set of the map. You pretty much, any scan you see is mostly anticipating it, like that one right there. But just so slightly off. No neural parasite. No parasiting a couple tanks might make the difference. Here, though, starting to reassert himself, really. He's done a lot better this game in using those siege tanks. The snipes, getting what he can get. A scan, spots an Infestor. He hasn't seen the Brood Lords. Oh, and that's going to cause a lot of concern. That's a lot of broods. You got to be very careful here how you engage this. Meanwhile, Hydras and Lings over to the right flank as Serral engages into the tanks, mostly invalidating them. The Brood Lords. And, oh god, the Broodlings. Hydras will be cleaned up, but he denies another base. 12 drones down. Was it just at this base? Anything else? Not at the moment. Serral re-expanding to the south. The Changelings will see all the... Wait, no. They won't see the Zerglings because the Zerglings are on the same team because that's how Changelings work. Confusing even me. The northern base is taken out, but Serral trades another one. And again, it feels like Cure is scrambling to respond to what Serral's bringing across the map here. Still, though, one particularly bad fight, and Cure could potentially punch through. As Serral doesn't have that much money in the bank, if he loses the Broodlord army, it's not easily rebuilt. The bio coming in again. Serral, he expands like the stock AI. Just everywhere there's a base. He's already setting up bases. Just making sure he has them. Why not? The Liberators will eventually clean up the Zerglings. Another base down, but Kier making so much progress. The Broodlords have to respect that bio ball with all those ghosts. He needs to get the Banelings, well, as close as he needs to kill him with Banelings. I was trying to come up with a clever way. Like, Kier definitely wants some social distancing. Banelings, whatever the opposite is. The speed zone, though, coming around the corners. Blinding Cloud forces Kier's army in towards the Broodlord, but the Banelings aren't able to take out the south side. Another round of Banes is rolling in. Kier pulls back. Is there going to be enough left over? The Thor, but an Infestor. Huge fungal. And that may interrupt enough of this. Are there any Overseers left over? It doesn't look like it. Sniping out the Broods. So Kier turning what was a dramatic defeat into a potentially Pyrrhic victory. Well, there's nothing to counter the Vikings or the Liberator. So Serral going to be losing a lot of Broodlords here. There are 15 Hydras about to finish. So limited time only. Gets one more Brood, just kind of targeting the rest. Kier can't decide if he wants to go or stay, but either way, it's not going to go well for him. Kier loses a huge amount of supply, but Serral exhausts his entire bank. What does Kier have left? 5 Ghosts, 2 Liberators, a handful of Bio, 3 Vikings, whereas Serral has 18 Hydralisks, 4 Broodlords, and he still has 53 drones. Kier has a chance, but it's a very slim one. I don't think Serral... He was left without the Overseers at the end of the fight. Was the only reason Kier was able to draw that close. Liberator denying a base for quite a while. Another Liberator as well. About as supply efficient as you can be. But Serral has refilled up to 174 supply. And Kier just doesn't have enough left. There's not enough Ghosts. There's not enough Liberators. And there's still an Infestor. It just got enough energy for Fungal. There's no turret nearby. Kier, this is his last mining base. He has to do something. He's trying to repair. He's gonna run out of money to repair. The orbital may very well die. That's just so much. And the Infestor, it dies immediately as it pops out, unfortunately, but I don't think it's really necessary at this stage. GG! Serral closes it out. But I gotta say, Kier, making a great effort. Built 0 Widow Mines the entire series. And honestly, that last game, I think still could have gone either way. It was tilted in Serral's favor for most of it, but Kier acquitted himself well. Serral just found the right fight. Those tank pushes, still so dangerous. And Serral being left without detection for just a couple seconds can turn everything. But another efficient game from the finisher. Able to close it out against Kier. His macro not quite enough against Serral's control. Those Dropper Lords would never use no nydus in game 2. That's how you could tell how much closer it was. But the expected outcome. 2-0 for Serral. It was enjoyable to watch. A bit of a master class there on late game Zerg. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it made your day a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon. But I hear liking and subscribing. Still free for now. If you haven't yet checked out the second channel for Stormgate, Zero Space, streams, other gameplay, pretty much if you want to waste the rest of your day. Well, it's there. Description, Jimmy. But otherwise, checking out recommended autoplay, all that. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Nope, we're going in circles. Good luck, have fun. See you next time. Stay chill.